livestream 13 in the space shooter DevVenture. So the last time we left off by separating the gun into its own scene, right? And I chose to name it Gun Defender rather than just plain gun. And the reason for this is it'll be easier. So there's a trade-off, right? So you're using space, right? So there's three, right? Space, time, or complexity. And you usually have to choose one or two. You can't have all three, right? So you can either have minimum complexity, or you can have minimum space, or you can have it take up minimum time in the computation time, right? Think of like frame rates and things. So you want things to go as efficiently as possible in at least one of these three spaces. And ideally, you want that to be time. And if you can't have it to be time, then the best thing to do would be to have it take up as little space as possible. Again, those are the two things that annoy the players the most. The third one is what annoys me the most as the game developer, right? Complexity. How complex is the implementation of this thing? And the more complex it is, firstly, the longer it takes to make it. And secondly, the more likely it is to have faults and bugs, and the harder it will be to fix them. So from a developer's perspective, having low complexity is better because it goes faster, it's easier to debug, and so on. All right? So if I were to choose an optimization and I could only pick two, just two, then I would choose to optimize time and complexity and forget about space, because my game isn't going to be hundreds of gigabytes big, right? It's not like these AAA game titles that go into 120 gigabytes and things nowadays. It's not that big. And so I can afford to make that trade-off, right? I'm going to reduce the complexity of my implementation by taking up more space. And so I'm going to have a separate scene for each type of gun. It's just simpler. And I don't think it takes up that much space, honestly. So I can just choose. I can make an array of preloaded scenes and just choose one. Or I could make a dictionary of them, actually. I think that would be better. And then I can just choose one. I can say, okay, Defender. From the array, from the dictionary of guns, get the Defender gun. Or from the dictionary of guns, get the Pirate gun. Or get the laser gun. Or get the, get the machine gun. Or get the sniper rifle gun, or whatever, like the high precision, high damage, low fire rate gun, or, whatever. So let's get back to this. All right, so we've established the scene where we have a spatial node, a 3D node at the root, and we've got a marker 3D. As you can see, it's of type marker 3D. In some applications, it's called an empty node, right? But a marker node is better than an empty node because this is a spatial node, and you could use this as a so-called empty node if you wanted to. But a marker 3D node, as you can see here, has these axes sticking out and showing you where its local origin is. So it's good for marking things. So that's why I put it there. It's easy to see where the bullets are going to spawn from, like where the plasma bolts will originate when we instantiate them. Then we've got the gun mesh for the gun itself. And we've moved everything in such a way that the overall origin, the node, the node 3D, so to speak, its origin is in a sensible spot. So if we look from the top, it's over there. If we look from X, it's over there. And if we look from Z, it's over there. Okay, that's not bad. And then the next thing we wanted to do was go to gunBehavior.gd. Now the next thing, well, the first thing we want to do in gunBehavior.gd is we want to extract all the shooting logic from the player behavior script and put it here instead. So the first thing, I keep saying the first thing, the next thing we're going to do is take all of the gun related on-ready variables and preloads and all of those things out and put them into gun behavior. Well, yes, gun behavior, that's the one. Okay, so we want the main gun variable, and we want the timer cooldown, and we want the preload of the plasma bolt. So if you're wondering what I'm doing here, how I'm able to select multiple lines, I am holding down Shift and Alt, and that allows me to have multiple cursors in the code editor. So let me show you what I mean. If I go here, I click there. Now I've got my primary cursor, right? The caret, the C-A-R-E-T, the caret or however you pronounce it. And I can hold down Shift Alt, do the same thing here, and now I've got multiple carets. And I can do the same thing there, that's 3. And I can do the same thing there, that's 4. Right? And I can say Shift End, and I go to the end of each of those lines all at the same time simultaneously, right? Then I can say Control X to cut them out, and backspace to remove all the dead space. But if I just make sure reading Controls Hint Label pause menu and is paused, reading Controls Hint Label pause menu is paused, nothing is lost. Perfect. So now I can go to gun behavior, just paste those in on the next line. There I have them. All right, and also the best part, everything is in their columns. Neat and tidy. Right. Now back to player behavior. So we'll save that. We'll go back to player behavior. Check if we've got other things here. Yes. So things like fire rate and okay, so let's do that. We'll take fire rate out, paste it in gun behavior over there. Okay. And now we make the function for ready. So we say underscore ready, takes in no parameters, returns nothing. So this is the return. That's the return statement. And here you can see there are no parameters. So it doesn't take anything in and it doesn't give anything back. It just executes and then it's done. So if we go back to play behavior in the ready function, we want to set the fire rate and nothing else. So we'll just take that out. We'll put that in gun behavior. Like this. Okay, next step, function is done. Right, set mouse mode, controls int label, pause state changed. Okay. Pause state changed, that's done. Extract pure your pitch, that's done. Shot cooldown timeout, perfect. So now we want this whole section from here right through till there. We'll cut those out. And then we go to gun behavior, paste them here. Bolt. That is bolt. Did I create a bolt variable? Hacked scene variable plasma bolt. No, I didn't. Gun behavior. What is bolt? Yeah, bolt. Identifier current speed is not declared in the scope. I see. So then we'll have to make an export variable for current speed of type float. Set that to a default value of 25. Actually, for debugging purposes, we'll make it 0. So if we shoot the bullet and it doesn't move, then we know something is wrong in the initialization phase of our logic. Alright, so that's 3 lines separating each function. And if I go to play behavior, this needs to be 3 lines as well. Doesn't need to be, it's just my preference. It just makes it easier for me to see separation between functions. It's easier to read, it's nice and tidy. Okay, so in the pause menu, we don't need to worry about any gun shooting. Correct. No. Here, input, movement, movement, all movement. Okay, that's fine. Leave that out. Here, in physics process, if input is action pressed, shoot. Let's take that part out. And go back to gun behavior. And then we make a new function here. Function underscore physics process. Paste it there. And then untab these by 1. If input is action pressed, tab those in. Excellent. So if the player presses the shoot button and can shoot is true, then shoot. And we've got can shoot established on top here. Perfect. Okay, then we go back to play behavior down here. And we check anything else to do with shooting. Nothing so far. Nothing so far. Nothing so far. Perfect. Okay. So that's that. And we can save all our changes. Go back to the defender ship in the 3D scene. And what is going on here? Component wise, we can add the gun to the player ship directly. We can name this gun dash defender, and then we have to adjust its location. Oh, no, we don't. If we adjust the, so I'm quiet because I'm thinking, right? So if we adjust the gun down to be at the bottom of the ship, to be on the underbelly of the ship, it's going to fire from the underbelly of the ship. And if we go to the camera and choose preview, you'll see now we can see the barrel of the gun, which is not ideal. But what's even less ideal is that the bullet spawner is where the bullet originates from. And if we put the gun here, the bullets will originate from there, which is good because that's where the crosshair is of the camera. So if I go to the 2D view, right, so the bullet originates from the center of the crosshair, which is right. We want that to happen. But if we move the gun down, it's no longer there. It's somewhere down here where it originates from. And as you know, in 3D, that is a big difference because while we have perspective view, right? So eventually those 2 points will converge somewhere here in the horizon. But we're not dealing with eventualities. We're dealing with absolute distance, right? So how far away is the target? And that determines where the projectile is going to strike, and that's where the crosshair needs to go. And again, we want to avoid unnecessary complexity. I'm not saying we shy away from complexity, but we do need to avoid unnecessary complexity. So what we can do is we can say editable children and hide the mesh. And then we go to camera feed. The mesh is gone, but the control control view and stuff is still intact. And now if I go to something like the firing range and I save the scene, I can run the game, wait time, invalid assignment on base object of type no instance. Oh, of course, it doesn't have the timer. Right. If we go back to gun, it doesn't have the timer. It's got the timer is here, so we need to move that over. So cut and paste. Timer shot cooldown. Okay. Defendership. Save. If we go to firing range, save, stop, run again. Why are we not shooting anything? Okay. If I go into the gun defender script and I go down into shoot, if can shoot, print shooting. And then in player behavior, if I go up here, I need to create an instance. So at onReady variable gun underscore main, or just say main gun. Is the following thing. I go to the defendership, cut the, sorry, not cut, but I take the node path and paste it there. Okay, and then onReady, we can say main gun dot current speed is equal to current speed. So let's change this to bullet speed instead. All right, so bullet speed, and then we change this one to bullet speed, and then we go here to this and we change this to bullet speed as well. Okay, and then in the physics process down here somewhere, we can set the bullet speed to be updated. Wait, where is current speed being used? It's there. And nowhere else. But if I go into the gunship thing, when I create the bolt speed is bullet speed. But if I go to the plasma bolt itself in bolt behavior, it's got a speed variable. I see. Okay. So I don't have to change anything. If I go to gun behavior, do I even need to change that? Do I need a bullet speed variable? No. Do I need to do this? Well, no. Okay, fine. We'll keep it. Keep it. Okay. But in the player behavior script, down here somewhere, where you set the final velocity and call move and slide, you wanna, just before that, set the bullet speed to be the final velocity. Speed percentage, displayed speed is the speed percentage. Ship velocity dot z. Okay. So we want to set that. Okay, so we say main gun dot bullet speed is assigned the value of ship velocity dot z. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to add to the default plasma bolt. So here's bolt behavior, you see. So that's the default bolt speed is 2000. Okay. So what I want to do is add whatever speed the player is moving at. We want to add that to the default speed of the plasma bolt so that the bolt is always traveling the same speed relative to the player. All right, and that works in reality as well, right? So if you are running at let's say 3 meters per second, right? You're running 3 meters per second in, forward, and you decide to throw a ball at 5 meters per second, the ball's going to fly forward ahead of you relative to you at 5 meters per second, but relative to someone who is stationary off to the side of you, it's going to fly at 8 meters per second. All right? So that's just relativity, not the relativity that you are accustomed to in science fiction and actual physics, but like just basic relative velocities. So if I go to gun behavior, we've got this bullet speed variable, and down here we are just adding bullet speed to the default speed at any time when you're shooting a projectile. So if I am correct with everything, if I go to the firing range now and I click on player ship, plasma bolt, firing range, save the game. Let's give this a try. Huh. Okay. Auto start. Back to the script editor. On timer shot cooldown. Print gun ready. Gun ready. Okay, so firing range. Let's give it a test. Hmm. on shot cooldown timeout. So connect on shot cooldown timeout. Okay, so we just weren't connecting this the signal, and I go here, setting the bolt scale. Don't set the bolt scale. Let's see if that helps. In firing range, we'll give it a test. Still not working. Why isn't it working? So if I go here, wait time, process cooldown, idle. Physics. If true, wait. The timer will stop after reaching the end, otherwise by default the timer will automatically restart, which is what we want. Then auto start. If true, the timer will start immediately when it enters the scene. After the timer enters the tree, this property is automatically set to false. This property does nothing when the timer is running in the editor. Process. Why is this not working? Wait time. 1 over fire rate. If can shoot, then shoot. If can shoot, then shooting. Start the cooldown. Set can shoot to false. Instantiate the bolt. Give it the main gun. Transform. Set the bullet speed. Add it to the scene. I don't see what's wrong here. We might need to send this to DeepSeek to analyze, otherwise we'll be here all day. Firing. Oh, I see the fire rate is really slow. Okay, so if I go to the wait time is 1 second. Here, fire rate 0.1. We want this to be 10. Now if we go to firing range and run the scene. Oh, that's better. Whoa. Why is it damaging everything? Set the fire rate to 5 shots per second. And then in the script editor, we'll put the scaling back. Let's see if that works. Firing range. Run. Okay. What's going on? In the script editor, we'll change this to half the scale. Okay. Save that, go back to firing range, test it out. Still not working. Okay, let's go back to the script editor. Change gun ready. Let's just comment that out because we know it works now. Okay. And then take away this scaling factor again and go to the plasma bolt scene. Check the scale here in the transform. Scale is 111. That's a massive bullet. So let's make it half the size. Okay. And then we'll go to firing range, save it, and give it a test run. It's still very big. Why is it doing that? Set this to like 3/4 of the size and then give it a test. Save everything, give it a test run. Now suddenly it's not working at all again. What is going on? Script, change this, put it off. Go back to the firing range, give it a test run. This time we'll fire from right next to the thing and see if it damages all of them still. If it does, why is it doing that? Okay, let's try again, but this time we'll shoot like really off, like very far off. How big are these target areas? How big is the plasma bolt? This is not helping. Okay, let's try and fix this. Ignore all of this. So let's say here is the code from my gun behavior.gd script file. When I disable when I comment the bolt.scale command statement, all targets in the scene take damage regardless of whether a collision is successful. Why is this happening? Let me know if you need any other scripts too. I didn't know about that. That's really useful. Okay. Um, disable this. Hmm. Okay. So just for now, let's set the speed to like 20, just to see how it flies and when does it actually uh, collide with the when does it call the collision script logic. Okay, so the projectile is going to go really slowly now, and we've enabled visible collision shapes. So let's see, how does this work? Um, okay. Oh, because we're giving it vector 3 dot forward. Let's not do that then. In play behavior, and behavior. That's fine. Now let's try this. That's still doing something. Uh, that's annoying. I go to test flight. Fine. We'll change the scale. Okay. Then we'll go back and test it. I see. So if we set this like that to be just vector 3.1, that looks better. Now if I go to firing range and test it here, that's already looking better. Why is it spawning so far ahead? Go to the script file, global transform, not main gun. If I go to gun, I wanted to have gun main. Yeah, that's the right thing. Okay, so if I go here and I choose to bring, okay, let's do away with the mesh. Or no, let's not do the mesh. Set this transform to be at 0. Set this transform to be at 0 too. Move it back, something like that. And now if I go to the defender ship, you'll see that the bullet spawner is almost in line with the camera. Perfect. And it's not spawning like all the way out here. So now if I go to the firing range, oh, but first I need to revert the speed in the plasma bolt to 2000. Okay, now I can test it again. Let's give it a try. Excellent. Okay, I'm happy with this now. So we've separated the player and the gun into separate script bodies, which is perfect because now it's modular, right? So now I can add more control. Excuse me. Now I can add more control to the player gun. I can add more control to the plasma bolt, and I can add more control to the defender ship independently of the others. And this is the right foundation. So we're getting there, right? So we the next step we can do something similar for the mining vessel. Let's just look at this and think about it for a second. So we've got battle behavior here, and we've got the mining vessel over there. I'm just trying to think about this in terms of the player.scene. And player behavior itself. Do we need main gun in the player behavior? Let me just check. I don't think we need it anymore. No, we don't. Just check again. Where else was it being used? Nowhere. So then we can get rid of it. And then that's that. Okay. So what I'm trying to do, remember, is to separate player controls like movements and speeds and rotations and all of those things. I want to separate them from all of the other like modular components, right? So a gun or the mining equipment or whatever. I want to separate all of those things from player behavior. again, because we've got multiple game modes with multiple variations. So we've got variations in how the play mechanics work. And I want all of those variations to be separated from the original logic. So that if I want to make a change to, the general controls, I change it here in player behavior. And I can even rename this to be player movements or player controller. I think that's a better name, right? Player controller. And then I can have things like battle behavior control how the battle moves, and bolt behavior for how the bolt controls, like how to make things take damage and how to handle when the bolt collides with something. And then another thing for gun, so like how do you control the gun? And another one for controlling the actual battle. So this would be gun controller, actually, is a better name. And then battle controller for controlling the battle. Yeah, I think that's the next step. So I think we're coming close to the end of our hour, to the hour-long live stream. So I'm gonna start concluding things here, right? So we've already established what the next step of our of this DevVenture is gonna be. And I would like to give a shout out to Cubes. Thank you for your support. And to all of you for watching and for your continued support. Thank you for your time and your attention. And I would encourage you to join the Discord server and to check out coffee.com/mtkdev if you wish to support my work. Thank you very much.